I'm looking for really fast shots. Maybe today you guys will say, oh, those shots weren't fast at all. And you're probably right. But at the end of the day, if I have a reticle that's so busy and has so much stuff going on, it can kind of take away from the focus, which for me is just getting a shot on the target. If you guys are looking for one of the most versatile, feature-rich rifle scopes that just got released onto the market, this is the video for you, and I have the best option. What's up, YouTube? My name is Justin Jackson. I'm a former Special Forces Green Beret. If you guys have been on the channel for a while, then you know that one of my favorite topics to talk about is SPRs. When I got out of the military, I started a company called Snake Eater Ranch that taught civilians all different styles of shooting. We did long range, we did pistol, we did combat marksmanship, but our favorite course to teach was the SPR course, or the scoped carbine course, mainly because we felt like this was the most practical form of shooting. You're taking a platform that is the most common platform in the United States, an AR-15, specifically a barrel length probably between 14.5 to 18 inches, with 16-inch kind of being that perfect middle ground in my opinion. You throw an optic on it that has a decent amount of magnification, and then you see how far you can kind of push that system out to. You take guys with a very standard setup and you teach them how to push that setup to its max capability, which was awesome to be a part of, and I love teaching the course. Throughout this whole past year, this is the gun that I've been using as I've trained and taught that course, with the only exception being that I recently removed my 2x12 scope 2 weeks ago and put on this Element Optics Theos 2-10. And guys, I have been super impressed with this scope and the features that it has, and I want to share with you guys today why I think this is the best MPVO currently being offered on the market. Now, just for full transparency, Element Optics did send me this scope, but I have no contract or agreement with them. All they wanted was for me to test it out, give them some feedback, and then produce some media with those thoughts, whether good or bad. So the way this video is gonna go today is I'm going to break down all of the features that this scope has. We're gonna start with the things that a lot of scopes have that this has. Then we're gonna talk about things that Element offers on this Theos 2x10 that other scopes, especially scopes in this magnification range, maybe don't offer. So let's jump into some of the features that this scope has. I'm gonna get kind of up close and personal so you guys can really get a good view and image of what you're gonna be getting out of the box with this thing. So just as a general overview, this is a 2x10x42 first focal plane MPVO. And MPVO stands for mid-power variable optic. So first and foremost, Element does offer a lifetime warranty on this scope. For some reason in the long range world, when people hear that, they go, oh, it must mean that it's a cheap scope because it's gonna break and then they're gonna send me a new one. With today's day and age, almost every single scope company that's a big name is offering lifetime warranties on their product because everybody else is doing it. So I just don't see that as the case. I've got cheap scopes, budget scopes that I've bought with lifetime warranties that I've never used. I've got expensive scopes from name brands that I won't say that I've had to replace the product a year later because something broke on it. At the end of the day, I think it comes down to the user, how you're using the product. Obviously, things are built differently. Obviously, some companies build things better than other companies do. But just because they offer a lifetime warranty doesn't mean they're expecting you to use the lifetime warranty down the road. So another thing that you'll find with a lot of MPVOs, and specifically this one here, you have your elevation, parallax, and windage adjustments. I wanna show you guys and maybe be able to have you guys hear some of the clicks here as best as I can. So I want you guys to be able to see me turn this and then maybe even allow you guys to hear the clicks if I take my mic off and show you. I'm gonna hold the mic. So I'm gonna hold the mic up right here and I'm gonna give it, you know, we'll turn it all the way to 5 mils and see if you guys can hear it. There's 5, and then we'll go back. And then we'll go kind of one at a time here. I'm not sure if you guys were able to hear that, obviously, because I haven't edited the video yet. I really enjoy the way these turrets turn. Each turn of the turret, it doesn't feel like a click. It feels more like a thock, if that makes any sense. Turning the turrets is very tactile. I really like the way it feels. Another thing I really like about these turrets is how wide they are. The previous Optic I had on here had much skinnier turrets. I like being able to have something big that I can grab. You know, that's more of a personal preference thing, but I do really enjoy it. You do also have the option, if you want, where you can remove your windage cap and you can leave it uncapped and then be able to use your windage knob with it uncapped. Keeping that windage cap removed, I think this is a really awesome time to talk about one of the features that Element offers, which is the ability to slip your turrets without any tools. If you remove that windage cap, and then up top, you have this top cap here that you can remove. You're actually able to just lift up your cap now and use that to slip your turrets. It's extremely easy, and it's very nice being able to do this without a tool. And it just kind of gives you one less thing you have to think about when you're going to the range. The same is also true with your windage. You just remove that little cap that was right here, and you're able to slip your windage turrets. This scope is waterproof, fog-proof, and shock-proof. Specifically on the website for the shock-proof, it says that you could put this on a 50 BMG and fire it 1,000 times. For me, having it on something like a 5.56, obviously that's like probably 1,000,000 times, I don't know. The scope does also have a zero stop. It weighs in at 28.9 ounces, and it is actually pretty compact. From nut to butt, this thing is 11.4 inches. You still have a lot of room on your rail for other necessary items like lights, lasers, whatever else you might be thrown on there. What we're gonna talk about is what they call their rev track. And I'm gonna get out of the image here so that you guys can see and the camera can focus. If you guys turn your focus here to this top elevation knob, you'll notice that right here where my finger is, right there, there's a little number 1. Now, if I do a complete full rotation of this top elevation turret, you'll see that as it is getting near that full turn right there, it switches to the number 2. With a quick look of your eye as you're in your scope and you're moving your elevation, you can know if you've gone a full rotation or not, which sounds like something that maybe you wouldn't really need to be thinking about, but I can promise you there's always a time when you're, whether it's competing or live scenario, if you will, you might be second guessing yourself and where you are in your rotation. This is like a for sure way to know where you are. And you'll see, I'll show you guys again here. You can see kind of where it turns. There's that. And then turns back to the 1. Now, though I think that feature is really cool, it's also something that I probably won't be using a lot because I have this on a 5.56 gun. This is a caliber that, you know, depending on the grain you're using and your barrel length, somewhere between 600 and 700 meters, that bullet's going transonic. Am I really shooting at a distance where I'm gonna be going up past 10 mils? Probably not. But if you're using other guns, you're putting this on a larger frame gun, this could definitely be a feature that you're using. Maybe there's an accident that happens, your turret gets turned, and now you just need to know that you're actually back in terms of the rotation of your elevation to where you want to be. Another really cool feature that they have here is with your parallax adjustment. You'll notice from the 10, as I start to go up to the 100, once I hit that 100, it snaps into place and it kind of locks there. When you put a little bit of friction onto it, it doesn't move. So you have to kind of push past that. If you're not looking at your numbers here, it gives you something that you can always come back to know exactly where you're at. And then from there, we can go up all the way to infinity. Now again, me personally, a lot of times when I'm using my parallax, I don't even look at the numbers. I'm just rotating it until I get that really crisp reticle. Usually I'll back it off until I see it blurry again, and then I'll walk it back on to be the most crisp I can get it. But I can definitely understand why having a known on your parallax makes a lot of sense. One of my favorite things about this Theos 2-10 is actually the reticle inside of it. Like I said, I don't have the scope cam to be able to show you guys, so I'm just gonna put it up right here and I can just talk you guys through it a little bit. They're calling this their MPR 1D reticle. And essentially what you have is, you know, your normal crosshairs, and then as you go down, you have a Christmas tree. You have every mil and half mil increments going down, and then off to the left and the right for your windage calls, you again have your half mil and then your full mil, all the way out to 3 mils on each side for windage. As you go back to kind of your main crosshairs for your windage at the top, same thing, you have your 0.5 and then your full mil, and those ones actually go all the way out to 4 mils on each side. One of the things I like on this Christmas tree, specifically for those windage calls, you have different shapes for your full mil and your half mil. So for your half mil, it's just a small dot, and then for your full mil, they give you like a plus sign. Personally, I just like being able to have that distinct difference. Now, one of the coolest things with this reticle is actually the illumination. If you look here to the side to where I have that reticle showing, you'll see that there's kind of this red cross with a center dot in the middle. Now, the wording they use is diffraction graded illumination. I'm not an engineer, so I can't explain to you, why this is better. If you go and you watch some of their content, they do a pretty good job of explaining it. What I can tell you is I really, really like the way that this illumination works. So from 1 to 3 magnification, really it kind of just looks like you have a center dot. But once you get between that 3 and that 4 and then out from there, you can really see that red cross really start to pop, and it's very crisp. It's not blooming out. Like, you can actually see all the different lines and the center dot themselves, which if you get illuminated reticles in a lot of MPVOs, it doesn't look like that, or they don't offer anything like that. It's just a center dot. And if they do offer more than that, it just tends to bloom out, and it's really hard to make like very crisp, precise adjustments. All right, and then the last thing in terms of features that we'll talk about is what they're calling the extra low dispersion glass. Now, again, I don't make scopes. I'm not a guy that gets super far into the weeds, but I did do somewhat of some research on this to understand what it is. A lot of times you'll see the thing that separates budget optics from more expensive optics is the type of glass they're using and then the coatings that they put on that glass. My understanding is this extra low dispersion glass is basically just saying that they're using, quality glass. I'm pretty sure it's Japanese glass, which is really good. I think Night Force even uses Japanese glass, and that the coatings they're putting on it, it gives you a lot of color fidelity and image sharpness. When you get some of these more budget scopes, you'll notice that at higher magnification, a lot of colors start to kind of blend in together, and it's hard to break up, targets from backgrounds, especially if you're shooting targets that are camouflaged. So what this is saying is with this glass, you actually do get a much clearer image, especially at those high magnifications. I'm gonna see if I can find a way to get my phone camera to look through this so I can maybe show you guys that. But until then, we'll just have to wait for me to get a scope cam to be able to show you. I did take out my other MPVO and compare them side by side. And just with my eye alone, I can say that at max magnification, you can 100% notice a difference. The MPVO I had on here before was a 2x12, and it was definitely a budget MPVO. I love it to death, and it's still one of my favorite scopes, but there's a massive difference in the image clarity and the color fidelity at max magnification. At the beginning of the video, I mentioned how this is just a super versatile optic. And the reason for that is because you could put this on something like a 14.5 with how compact it is and still have a lot of room on the rest of your rail to put stuff on. The other reason I think that it could be great on something with like a shorter barrel like that is because when you're looking to buy a scope, you really are looking at, what's the capability of my gun and what's the distance I'm trying to shoot at. For something like what I have right here, I'm really looking to shoot 600 meters and in. Can it go farther than that? Absolutely. For me, that's kind of doctrinally what an SPR is supposed to be able to do. And so if I can shoot accurately 600 meters and in, I'm very happy with it. One of the rules of thumb that you'll hear, depending on who you subscribe to, is when you're looking at what magnification you should go for, anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5 times the distance you're looking to shoot. So to explain that, if I'm looking to shoot 600 meters on this gun, and that's the max distance I'm looking to really effectively shoot, if you times that by 2, you get 12. So if you times 600, or you just take the 6 and you times it by 2, that gives you 12. So 12 magnification is probably a good realm. Again, it depends on who you subscribe to. Maybe that's 1.5 times 6, maybe that's 2.5 times 6. My recommendation is to just go out and try it for yourself. Take your scopes out there, see what magnification you like to be at. In my own personal experience with teaching people in the Army to teaching people here in the civilian world, most people mag in way too much when they're shooting, and really you don't need to. You don't need to have that reticle super massive on the target. You need to be able to have a clear sight picture, you need to be able to see that reticle clearly, but you also want to maintain a good field of view and see what's going on around your target, in the real world. I also think that this is a scope that you could go and put on a larger frame gas gun, something like a DMR, a 308, a 6.5 Creedmoor. You may not be getting the magnification that you want shooting those distances, but if you want a more compact setup, then I think that this is an awesome scope for that option. This scope comes in at about $2,500. I'm gonna put a link for it in the bio below. With that being said, let's go take it up to my range and let's go do some shooting. Real quick, guys, I just wanna say a massive thank you to all the people who have subscribed to the channel, who've gone and followed me on Instagram. In the past 1.5 months, we've grown this channel channel to over 15,000 subscribers. We just broke the 15,000 mark on Sunday. So I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. If you end up finding any value in this video, go ahead, hit the like button, throw some stuff in the comments below. I want to let you guys know that we have some really big plans for 2026. We're going to be going around and doing a ton of competition shooting and filming the entire prep to the competition itself and the lessons learned. I think you guys are going to get a ton of value out of it. The goal isn't for these videos to just be a vlog. The goal is for these videos to be kind of let's start from somewhere and let's have a goal to end somewhere in terms of our performance, both physically and tactically or shooting wise. These are going to be competitions like team sniper competitions, USPSA pistol shooting, tactical games, and many more. So if you guys want to see that, and if you want to be here for 2026 and all the big stuff we're doing, go ahead, subscribe, and I'll be happy to kind of take you guys along this journey with me. So I want to explain to you guys the range setup and what we're working with here, and then also kind of talk a little bit more about specifically like what am I doing when I'm training with an SPR, and more specifically why I think this scope really fits well with this type of weapon system. Okay, so over here to my left, I've got 8 targets set up. I've got various sizes of targets. 3 of these targets are quarter size IPSC targets, and I'll put a little image of what those look like here. 4 of them are on a plate rack, where 1 is kind of your classic torso size target without the head. 2 of them are smaller targets, 1 being a circle about yay big, and another one being a square about yay big, and then the other one is a larger circle. And then finally, the last target on the range, which is at the farthest distance, is slightly bigger than a torso, but what I've done is I've painted the center of it red and then the outer edges of it yellow. So if I hit yellow, then it counts as a miss. If I hit the red, then it counts as a hit. Now, when I'm training with an SPR, we're training for effect on the target, not so much perfect accuracy. I know that sounds really bad, but let me explain. Can a weapon system like this have very accurate shots? If you've got a match grade barrel, got a match grade trigger, and you're using some nice ammo, then absolutely. This is a gun that you can get some really tight groups with, and you can push out to some distance and get some really accurate hits. But what I like to train for specifically is how fast can I go from position to position and build a good enough position to impact the target. Whether I impact the bottom of the torso or the head, I don't really care. I've said it before and I'll say it again on this channel. To me, this would be my go-to-war gun. This is the setup that I would take with me. Obviously, I should probably add something like a laser or a light to it, but I'm broke, so I haven't done that yet. A lot of your conflicts that you see happen within that 100 to 600 meter range. And if I'm just looking for an effect on the target, all I care about is that I hit the target. Now, obviously, there are days where I come out here and I'm working specifically on accuracy, where I want to have tighter groups and I want to build the best position possible. But the majority of the time, I'm trying to go from position to position as fast as I can, build a stable enough platform that I can get an effect on the target. Another thing I'll mention with this range setup is that my farthest target is at 460 meters, which isn't very far. A way to compensate if your range can't go to a much farther distance is to use smaller targets. So that's why I have the quarter IPSCs, I've got the smaller torsos, and I've got the actual torso size all the way out at the 460. So though we might be hitting a quarter size IPSC target at 250 meters, the reality is if we were preparing for conflict and we're looking at a human-sized target, it would be much bigger. So if we can hit these targets quickly at that distance, at that size, then we know that we can be effective with much larger average human-sized targets. Finally, the other reason why, and this is kind of just the cherry on top, why I'm not crazy focused on accuracy today is because training can get expensive when you're actually shooting rounds. Going and buying some nice 77 grain with very low standard deviation, or even reloading that yourself, can get expensive. And so instead, I'm buying 55 grain, cheapest I can find, so that I can get out here and I can at least practice. My standard deviation on this ammo is 37.7 right now. So if I'm super concerned about having really tight groups and being really accurate, I'm gonna be out here all day fighting against the ammo itself. But if I can build some confidence knowing that even with the cheapest 37.7 standard deviation ammo, I can have effect on quarter size IPSCs from 0 to 600 meters, I can be pretty happy with that. All right, guys, so the first drill that we're gonna do is some positional shooting. So I got my little barricade here. We're gonna go from a kneeling position to standing to kind of a bent over standing position, back to a normal standing position, and back to a kneeling position. We're gonna be aiming at the same target the entire time, which is gonna be that target that's slightly smaller than a torso at 250 on the plate rack. The goal here is that we have 2 attempts per position to hit the target. But if I miss on that first shot, I want to take a follow-on shot in under 3 seconds. Okay, so as fast as I can, I'm trying to take that shot. If I hit it on the first attempt, I'm gonna move on to the next position. I got a shot timer. The goal here is that we can build a stable enough position and then go from position to position with quick shots, going down range and getting impacts. Barricade just broke on me. I think that was longer than 3. Through that first one with my breath. So that's at 55.51. When the drill's over, we want to think of what did we do wrong and what can we do better? So there I had 2 misses, and both of them I was not shooting at the bottom of my breath. Doing that figure 8 with my reticle crossed the target and I yanked the trigger and my breath wasn't good. So next time, just focus on my breathing a little bit more. Another thing I noticed is that I was kind of holding my breath too long on some of these engagements. I should just be breathing normally, and then when I take that respiratory pause right at the bottom of my breath, pull the trigger, and then keep moving. All right, so final time was 51.92. So we beat it just by a couple seconds. One of the things I did there was I just took a lot more time on that first shot, expecting that without having to take a second shot, my time would improve, but I can definitely cut down on some of those times. But all in all, not too bad. All right, so for this next drill, we're gonna be doing something similar to the first one, except we're gonna be going from a kneeling position to a prone position, and then we're gonna go back and forth. Same rules apply. We have 2 attempts to hit the target. If we don't hit it on the first one, we have 3 seconds to take a follow-on shot. The goal here is that we're kind of getting our heart rate moving by moving up and moving down. Obviously, it's not gonna be crazy high. We're not doing like burpees right now or sandbag carries, but just enough and a little bit more thought towards our breath control. Normally when I do drills like this, I would also like to change the targets up, meaning if I'm in a prone position, I should maybe be shooting a more difficult target than if I'm in a standing or a kneeling position. But because I only have 1 camera right now to put on the target for you guys, I'm just gonna use 1 target, and then once my scope cam comes in, we can kind of come out here and do a little bit more difficult training. Final time, 24:40. So the reason I brought you guys out here, just showed you a couple drills of the style of training I'm doing. The application that I choose for this type of setup kind of defines the type of scope that I want. I'm looking for really fast shots. Maybe today you guys will say, oh, those shots weren't fast at all. And you're probably right. But at the end of the day, if I have a reticle that's so busy and has so much stuff going on, it can kind of take away from the focus, which for me is just getting a shot on the target. So having a reticle like this where it has just enough information, where I'm getting those mil and half mil increments and I can make quick wind adjustments if I need to, is what I'm looking for on this setup. If you want a Tremor 3 and you're looking to do, so much more with your reticle, then there's nothing wrong with that. Go and get, your Night Force 4-16 and run it. But for me, something like this is exactly what I want on an SPR setup. Hey, thank you guys for watching. I know we were kind of all over the place today with going over the scope and also doing some training and yada, yada, yada. If you guys are interested in this scope, again, I'm gonna put a link in the bio below. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns about SPRs and training and scope selection and barrel selection and trigger selection and all the stuff, put them in the comments below. We're gonna be doing a little bit more gas gun content coming up because I'm planning here in the next 3-4 months to go and do a team sniper competition. Instead of me being the bolt gun guy, which I was in the last comp, I'm gonna be the gas gun guy just because I actually prefer that. Can't remember if I did an outro back at the shop or not, so peace out. I will see you guys next time.